Welcome to another episode of The Cold Front.
Grab those rakes and apple cider because we're going to be talking about fall today.
Plus, a look at what's happening across the U.S. weather-wise. Cold Front starts now.
Welcome to the Cold Front.
I'm Adam Sherwinski.
And I'm Jake Van Horn. We're going to start off today's show by talking about the autumn season.
That's right. Nestled between the dog days of summer and the frigid winter nights is this transition season. The days become noticeably shorter and the leaves begin to make their descent.
But what causes this change? You can blame the tilt in the Earth's axis for that.
During the summer months, the axis is tilted towards the sun, and we, in the northern hemisphere, experience fall-like conditions here across the northern region. Northern hemisphere. As the southern hemisphere experiences spring with less sunshine, the days become shorter and shorter and temperatures begin to drop. And those shortened days lead to cooler temperatures, changing leaves, their leaf color, and eventually losing them. The chemical process that these use to produce these things are called chlorophyll. The green pigment in the leaf begins to break down. This allows for other colors that are being produced to surface and show their color. Now, we talked about this in class the other day about chlorophyll and how the chlorophyll breakdown is the key thing, Ellen's class, and that actually is a good fact to know because a lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah, and so as I was researching this topic today, I didn't realize that all the other pigments are there all year long. It's just that the chlorophyll kind of overshadows the other colors, the yellows, the reds, and the purples, and so you don't see those throughout the year, but during the fall with the less sunshine, the chlorophyll kind of breaks down and then those other colors appear.
Yeah, it's leaves to me have always been fascinating, like the crunchy feel, and they have a different kind of smell too. It's something you don't really expect to really think, but like fall, it's one of those like key fall things, the changing of the leaves, pumpkins, and it's just October. We might as well start talking about it now, even though we've got about, we've got a lot of time left here in the fall season. Like we've got November coming up, but still, we're in the heart of what is supposed to be considered fall, and Halloween's right around the corner as well. So I'm really excited about fall this season. It's been a little warm, but overall not bad. Not bad at all.
And I know, so the weather does have an impact on how the leaves change their colors. They said, whenever I was reading it up, they said warmer days and cooler nights lead to the best color.
Yeah, we're going to have plenty more to talk about here. That finishes up the first part of the show. Don't leave just yet. We have plenty more coming up, including how the weather is affecting local farmers.
Stay tuned to the Cold Front on VUTV Channel 15.
Valparaiso University, where passion meets purpose.
Welcome back to this fall-themed episode of The Cold Front.
While some of you might enjoy a chilly and wet fall afternoon where you can enjoy some coffee and read a good book, there are people in the community that would much rather see dry conditions.
While some fall showers might spoil your plans to go pick some apples or find that perfect pumpkin, it's having an even bigger impact on area farmers. I sat down with Dave Applegarth of Applegarth Farms and discussed how the weather impacts harvesting at this time of year.
You can pick corn in light rains and dampness. It doesn't really matter just because the way it gets processed by a combine. Soybeans you can't pick with any moisture at all, so it's got to be nice and dry for soybeans. Frost and dew are forms of water. It doesn't matter what form the water is. If there's water on the crop, you can't do beans at all, and corn you can pick corn that's frosty or dewy. You can't pick corn that's got snow on it. Wet spring makes a late plant. You don't want to plant when it's wet. It's not the best seed bed. Sometimes it dries over after it rains, and if you plant when it's wet and it gets crusty, the seed doesn't come up properly. Best planting weather is bone dry, make a lot of dust. The only other notable weather factor of importance at the time of harvest would be real strong winds. That could be either strong thunderstorms or for sure tornadoes. Has a great effect on making the crop lean over, sometimes even bends all the way over to the ground, and that makes it absolutely miserable and difficult to get it up so you can harvest. You got to harvest really slow and sometimes with a special head so that it picks it up as it goes, and you still lose quite a bit of corn.
So Jake, I know you're the most farm influential here around us. So what can you tell us about, because you obviously did the package, what can you tell us about all this?
So it was interesting in the package, you know, he talked about you can't cut soybeans whenever it's wet out or dewy or frosty. And so that actually has to do with the bean pod itself. Whenever it's wet, it gets kind of soft and it doesn't like to split open. So the beans don't actually get harvested, they just get thrown out the back with the rest of the plant. So there's an interesting tidbit for you, but whenever it comes to corn, like he said, it doesn't really matter. You can harvest as long as it's not a heavy snow. You can harvest corn whenever you want.
Have you had experience harvesting in snow, or do you know anyone that's had experience harvesting in snow?
I have. You know, sometimes you'll go into November and you'll get a couple of flurries, and so I have hauled grain before in some flurries. Nothing too serious that we had to stop harvesting, but yeah, it was an interesting adventure for sure.
I mean, you guys farmers, I mean, you're purely a farmer, but you got friends and family, and your father, doesn't your father farm, correct, or your family?
Yeah, my grandfather.
I mean, farming is such a big, I mean, weather is vital to farming, and it's just like, it's crazy to think, we don't think about it, we usually think of our daily lives, like grabbing a raincoat and all that, but it affects you 100%. If you have a dry spout, your crop is ruined. If you have too much rain, your crop is ruined. Mm-hmm. And so I think you being a meteorologist is kind of great, because it just makes sense to me, being in the weather and also having the agricultural background. That's just really good combination right there.
So I guess going back to what Dave mentioned in the video, so he's talking about the spring, and the spring it got warm enough to the point where guys went out and they started planting, and then we hit a bit of a cold snap.
I remember that.
And so many guys had to go out and replant, so it cost them a lot of money because they kind of didn't forecast that little cold spell, and the seeds didn't come back up. So cost them a little bit, but I think in the long run, they'll be all right. Harvest seems to be going all right so far.
That's good. I mean, we obviously want a good harvest for prices for us. So it's hard to believe, but we are just about done with yet another episode of the Cold Front.
When we come back, we'll talk about an unusual occurrence of tornadoes in the Pacific Northwest, and Adam will have a look at your local forecast.
Catch all of that here on VUTV.
Good morning, Valparaiso University. What's a better way to start your day than with a new jam? And WVUR has just what you need.
But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it... If dying young won't change your mind, baby, right.
Broadcasting sports, news, weather, and music on air, online, and on campus. WVUR is my jam.
Welcome back to the cold front. Over the last several days, some unusual weather has been hitting the Pacific Northwest.
That's right. A strong low pressure system has been causing tropical storm force winds, heavy rain, and even some tornadoes. Take a look.
Residents of Manzanita scrambled to clean up debris from yesterday's storm and assess the damage this morning. Laurel Avenue, a residential area, was one of the hardest hit. The tornado shifting this house off its foundation and ripping it apart. The damage so severe you could see right through it.
It was windy, and then suddenly it changed.
Jane Winnell lives near the business district that was torn apart on Lanita. She explained what it was like to survive her first tornado.
There was a noise coming through like an express train coming through about 200, 300 miles an hour. It was just unbelievable. It was surreal. And I looked out and I could see a big space where I had trees before.
She lost 1/3 of her trees and a fence, but rode out the storm with Pippi unscathed.
He wasn't afraid. He just dived under the covers in the bed and hid. We have a patio and there's a fence with glass panels in, and that was blown completely down. But that's just cosmetic next to, damage people had to their houses.
That includes the home on Laurel Avenue.
That house was blown off its foundation, basically.
Fortunately, city manager Jerry Taylor says it was not a home that was being lived in at the time.
The owner had gotten permission to use it just as storage rather than as a residence.
Meanwhile, Jane is happy that the Tillamook PUD crews are getting the lights back on for residents.
The utility people were amazing. We got power back at 8 o'clock last night. That was an amazing gift to us. I want to thank them all.
And she's ready for what Mother Nature might bring today.
I always have my camping equipment ready because we lost power, so I was able to cook nice meals yesterday.
So what we've seen basically here is that across Seattle, across the Northwest right now, we're still getting those heavy rains and a few heavy thunderstorms here across the region. This is a region that doesn't need any more showers and thunderstorms. And the interesting thing about this whole system, that this is a remnants of a typhoon that was in the Pacific and retrograded all the way, or moved all the way over to us here in America. And you've got to understand that this is a region that's so used to rain. I mean, when you think of Seattle, you think of rain and thunderstorms every once in a while, but the combination of all that rain that they're used to caught them by surprise when you had these thunderstorms, these strong thunderstorms and tornadoes. They're not used to that. These people out here are they're not used to the severe weather we are used to here in the Midwest. So some of them aren't even aware of where to go or what to do if there is a tornado or a tornado warning. And what's interesting, it's only going to make matters worse here across the area. There's a jet streak that's going right through California, and that's going to affect our weather later this week. But overall, this is what's going to make it even worse for those folks, and it stretched all this precipitation all the way down into central California and even into Nevada, which, again, another region that doesn't get rain a lot, especially up in Nevada in the Great Basin. So this system has a double duty. It's got the typhoon, what's left of it, up to the north, and down south, you've got a jet streak coming across, screaming across, getting ready to make more rain. So what have been the biggest problems here for this whole system? Well, actually, it's been a combination of things. We have a strong low that remnants of that storm, heavy rain, and then to tornadoes. Again, these people weren't prepared for this at all. They don't take the tornado precautions we do here in the Midwest, and they don't talk about severe weather nearly as much as we do. And the interesting thing is that those strong thunderstorms, those strong tornadoes, the mountains don't do anything for the most part, and it's just been a mess for those people out there in the Northwest region. I hope that they get all the help that they need. It's so crazy out there, and I was caught off guard as well. Like, I wasn't forecasting out there. And I'm so surprised at what happened. I mean, Jake, I didn't expect to see any tornado warnings.
No, I mean, it's definitely interesting, especially for an area that climatologically doesn't see many tornadoes
exactly.
every year, and now they're just
They got caught off
The
guard.
strong typhoon comes, well, not typhoon, the remnants of a strong typhoon come on shore and starts dropping tornadoes.
I mean, the thing about it is, like, yes, it's not a typhoon anymore, but it still had a lot of strength for a low pressure system, and not an average run-of-the-mill one either. I mean, it's not just thunderstorms, it was tornadoes, and they had gusty winds. I mean, I was at my internship at WGN, and Tom Skilling even mentioned, like, he's like, I've been a long time since I've seen winds so strong that far in the Northwest region. I mean, he was shocked. I had to make an extra graphic for it with him. I mean, he made 2 or 3, and he usually focuses on just Chicago, but this is such a big event that was caught everyone off guard. And that
I think the video was very impressive. Some of the damage, it wasn't just a couple shingles gone or a couple branches. I mean, these were whole trees and whole houses knocked off foundations and stuff like that.
And it's October. We don't think of that kind of weather in October. We think of it in May and April and June out in the plains, but we don't think of that at all in the Northwest in October. That's just such an odd combination, and I really feel bad for those folks, because this is something that if you've never lived your life around the severe weather, how do you get used to that? Like, how do you combat that? How do you adjust to that? It's just so odd to me.
Well, good news for the lady in the video. As you can see, she was very well prepared, and she was cooking with her camping supplies. So
Yes.
A little bit of a good story in there.
So there's definitely some interesting stuff going on in the Pacific Northwest, but what about back here in Valpo?
When we come back, Adam will have a full look at your local forecast. Stay tuned.
Everyone knows John Guilford is one of the best defenders on the team. He's one of the best in the PFL, and he puts a lot of time in on the field to make sure of that, but he also puts in a lot of time off the field to do that too. He's pretty good at what he does. Pretty good, yeah. Ow.
It's easy to walk into an interview feeling confident, knowing you'll make the right impression. Which one do you use? The bone crusher, a little too firm. The misfire, just utter confusion. The politician, a little too creepy. The dead fish, very awkward. The hug shaker, too much commitment. Get started right away with Handshake, only through the Career Center. Do what you love.
We are not dealing with the tornadoes that we just talked about, but unfortunately for area farmers, they're having to deal with some rain showers. Let's head over to Adam on the weather wall with a look at the forecast.
Well, thank you, Jacob. As you can see right now, we've had those showers and thunderstorms this morning. I woke up to a couple of rumbles myself and heavy rain. That's out of the region right now. That's not what we're focusing on. We're actually going to focus on a warm-up here in the next few days. Taking a live look, at least a still shot here, at I-65 in Maryville. Not too bad. Cloudy skies for the most part here in Northwest Indiana, but it's going to be different here across the region. This is an old slide. We don't have, actually, like I said, those strong, heavy rains. We're going to see better conditions here across the entire region. Temperatures here are across the Great Lakes region, especially here in Lake Michigan area, 71 degrees in Midway, 64 all the way out in South Bend. Lafayette, you're at 67 degrees, and then over by Fort Wayne, you guys are at 66 degrees. You guys have those showers and thunderstorms right now, or relatively recently had those. That's what's keeping you a little bit cooler than the rest of the region out towards the rest. And now looking a little bit closer to home, at least towards Chicagoland, 70 out in Chicago, West Chicago at 70 as well, all the way down to Joliet, 73 degrees. Here, closer into Indiana, 70 degrees, 66 in Valpo, and 66 out in Michigan City for us. Now, dew points are actually pretty high considering how low our temperature, or the low combination of our temperatures. 64 degrees here in Valparaiso. We only have a current temperature in the low 70s. That's a really moist area. And as I was walking out the door this morning, I noticed, it's really humid out. So as our dew points are closer to our relative, our temperature, that means more humid conditions here across the area. So what's going to happen later on through the rest of the weekend and even into Monday? We'll look at that. We got a few showers here or there, but for the most part, we're expecting a warm-up. That's the big news right here. We get some sunny skies by 3 o'clock, 3:30 actually, on Monday, and those warm temperatures, you're going to fool yourself. You're going to want to go to the beach, and you're going to be like, man, summer's back. There is no more October. But later in the week, once we get to fall break, it'll feel a little bit different. It'll be a little wet here across Northwest Indiana. So temperature-wise here, it's going to be pretty warm, pretty nice. until we get into late Wednesday into Thursday. Here are temperatures across the region. You can see out towards our west, we have another cold front. As those pesky cold fronts go, we're going to have another chance of rain. Meanwhile, here in Indiana, we're having warm temperatures, 7:30 in the morning, 68 degrees here across Valparaiso. That's pretty warm for Tuesday at 7:30. That's a warm temperature, but here that gradient you can see right there across from Davenport to Sioux Falls. Not a huge distance, but a big temperature drop. That's our cold front that's going to play into a role here later in the week. By the time we get to Tuesday, 4 o'clock, 69 degrees, still a little bit above average for this time of year. So closer to home, this is what the temperature is going to look like for the next few days. All right, look at that. We're still in the 60s by 6 a.m. 6 a.m. on Monday, that's pretty warm, especially for that time of day and this time of year. As we go on through the rest of the day, we get to the upper 70s. I think we're actually going to hit the 80s here across Valparaiso. 83 for our high, more than likely, and we just stay warm. But once we get to Wednesday, we cool off just a little bit right before that cold front, and as that cold front moves through, that's what's going to bring us a chance of showers and thunderstorms. So for tonight, mostly sunny, some fog. That's actually a little bit of a problem there. It's actually going to be mostly cloudy with some fog. You can't have sunlight at the nighttime. That's crazy. But tomorrow, we have 83 degrees. Now, you're going to ask yourself, is it summer? And it feels like it, but Tuesday and Monday are the days you're going to think, I really want to go. I really want to do it, but I can't. Don't want to go to the beach. It's going to be fall-like conditions as we look at our 7-day forecast. Look at that. We get back into the 50s and the 60s. The beginning of your fall break, if you wanted to go downtown, you might get a little wet. So Thursday, Friday, rain showers. But as we get to the end of the weekend, we start to dry out. And right before you head back to Valpo, actually what you're going to see is actually that all those nice conditions are going to come back as soon as you start to head back to school. So I apologize for that. But yes, we do have some wet conditions if you had some plans here across the region for some fun time if you're not going home for the break.
Well, I don't know about you, but looking at the 7-day, I'm super excited for the next couple of days. I like the warmth and some sunshine. The cooler temps and the rain, I don't really care for as much.
But see, it's fall, so I'm really thinking about like how warm it's gonna be. Like I mean, I'm not used to how warm it's gonna be here, Jake. It's weird. It's so weird. I'm used to. It's going to be so warm. I mean, we're talking 80s across the area, and that just doesn't seem right in my brain. It just doesn't click as a meteorologist. But it's going to be wet also the next few days as well. So it's just crazy.
And I guess I'm worried about, good old Dave Applegarth out there. He's trying to cut the beans, and the rain's moving in, and you have to let them dry out, as we talked about earlier. So that's a little disappointing for the area farmers, They want to see the warm temperatures.
This is not good for them right now.
So Monday and Tuesday, definitely the days to
start harvesting.
Get out there and get your harvesting done if you can.
Exactly. I mean, but I feel bad for the people who wanted to go to the Great Lakes. I mean, people who want to go travel, maybe to like Michigan City or maybe to Chicago and have some fun. Go to the zoo, go to the aquarium, maybe go to a museum. And if you're going to be out and about in Chicago, you're going to get wet. I mean, there's a good chance of showers Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday. I mean, I feel totally bad because I was going to have some plans for break. Did you have anything planned for break that would involve being outside and getting wet?
If my grandpa's farming, I was going to go back and actually help him out a little bit.
That's what I knew you were going to say something with farming. I'm like, he's probably going to go farming or something. That's crazy, though. It's just, I feel so bad for the people who have the folks who have plans outside. I would definitely not want to be in those temperatures. But as we get back to school, if you notice, we get back into a little bit cooler conditions, but we're dry again. So those nicer conditions are going to happen at the end of break. And by Saturday and Sunday, I'm already thinking about the homework I have going on for Monday. I mean, it's insane what we're having here. I feel so, this is going to be an ugly fall break for me. I mean, weather-wise, I might just stay inside and get some video games playing done.
Watch Netflix.
Exactly.
The Office, always a good choice.
It's always a good choice. I mean, it's soup weather right there. Just chilling out, soup, socks, maybe thinking about watching some baseball. The Cubbies are still playing, aren't they?
Cubs are still playing,
in the fall break.
Perfect October conditions. I'm happy they're still playing in October.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps it up for another episode of The Cold Front, but don't forget to keep up with us on our Facebook at VUTV Weather and see all of our content on VUTV's YouTube page.
Because of fall break, we will be taking the week off next week, but we will be back in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. I'm Jake Van Horn.
And I'm Adam Sherwinski. Have a great day, Valpo.
Good morning, Valparaiso University. What's a better way to start your day than with a new jam? And WVUR has just what you need.
But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it...
If dying young won't change your mind, baby, right.
Broadcasting sports, news, weather, and music on air, online, and on campus. WVUR is my jam.